Hey guys, Mike Aubrey again. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are on the planet. I'm Mike Aubrey. I'm one of the Fusion 360 design evangelists here at Autodesk, and I wanted to welcome my partner in crime here today, Mr. Clifford Brown, who is ExactFlat's Vice President of Marketing. Good morning, Cliff.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, everyone.
And yeah, for all you guys out there in computer land, we're going to be giving you a presentation today on our newest partnership on the Fusion 360 team, which is ExactFlat. And so the way this is going to run today is I'm going to be your master of ceremony, and we're going to have on your end, you'll be muted, but this is definitely meant to be an open-ended and discussion-oriented webcast. So as you have questions or things that you'd like further clarification on, please hit us up in the chat or the questions, and we'll be monitoring those and we'll answer them as we're able to. This webinar is going to be recorded, so it is being recorded right now, so know that as we're going about it. And we're set to go about an hour, but we actually were thinking it'll probably be closer to 30 or 40 minutes, so this shouldn't be a particularly long one. That's the point. It shouldn't be, this actually is a pretty easy to use add-in, so we hope it comes across in our presentation as well. So with that, friends, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Cliff, do you have anything to add before I jump in?
No, I think we'll get to the other details about how this fits into the soft goods manufacturing and automation as we go through the
I
presentations.
love it. Okay. All right, friends. So to start off, why we're here is the Fusion 360 team. We have a new partnership with a company called ExactFlat, and we're really excited about it because it opens up a whole new realm of workflows and an industry that we've always been almost able to serve well, but now, man, we are really poised to just be a fantastic concept all the way through fabrication workflow. And the company's called ExactFlat, and what they allow you to do is produce flat patterns from 3D designs that you produce in Fusion. And man, for me, we've never been able to do this before. On my end, I've been around Autodesk for, gosh, 10 years. I've worked in industries where we've done really complex simulations and been able to make air flow through rooms and stuff, amazingly computationally intensive stuff. And we're using that now to flatten cloth from models. And it is so exciting to see. And so our objectives in this presentation is we want to show it to you. We're going to introduce you what Exact is, what it does for you, and we're going to show you how to install it, get started, and then walk through how it works. And at the end of it, produce that flat pattern. So Cliff, go ahead and take away and tell us that process.
Sure. So Mike just kind of talked about how this is extending the functionality of Fusion. For those of you that aren't aware, Fusion Exchange Store is intended to allow Fusion to rapidly grow and meet the needs of specific customers. And in this case, those specific customers are in the soft goods industry. We talk about soft goods industry as products covered in fabric or made from vinyls and composites. So sporting goods, bicycles, helmets, furniture, boats, boat covers, automotive interiors, balloons, turbine blades, all of those types of things. And the challenge has been that for soft goods manufacturing, the processes tend to be extremely manual and labor intensive. So just as we've been using 3D CAD and CAM in the past 20 years or so to accelerate both pre-production and final production of those products, we're now going to be doing the same thing for our soft goods manufacturing. So this is enabling companies that take advantage of 3D to get the same advantages for their soft goods manufacturing as they have for their hard goods manufacturing. We're going to show you here in this presentation how if you just think back, if you're involved in this industry at all and you're doing anything with soft goods, you know how long it takes you to capture the information, get the dimensions, make a pattern, test it, redo it, iterate, and get it right. We're going to take you through a process that's going to show you how we can do it, if not twice as fast, but in some cases 10 times faster than you're doing it today. It's a bold claim, and our experience has shown that it's not just a bold claim, but it's also true. And as Mike said, this presentation is going to go very quickly because you can see the process there at the bottom of the screen. We're going to focus on the part of the process that's in the middle. You've got your 3D CAD model, you've got your cutters and your sewing, but in between, this is where all of the time is being consumed and the labor is coming, where you're preparing your 3D models for flattening, you're figuring out what the flat pattern needs to look like, and then you're doing all the finish work on your flat pattern, seams, notches, dimensions, assembly instructions. So we're going to walk you through how we're automating that part of the process.
Wonderful. Thanks, Cliff. So guys, let's show it off. So we're making the assumption, because you're on the Fusion webinar, that you guys all have Fusion and you just love it to death, and why wouldn't you? And so I'm going to start off just with this bike seat, and kind of where we're going with this is we need to come up and make it so that this leather piece, you need to figure out what the shape would look like in a flat piece of leather. What that shape would look like, and that's what we're going to be doing here. So what we're starting out with is something that was just created in Fusion, and we're going to go over and leave the sculpting environment and go into the patching environment. And so this is the area of Fusion that would be called our surfacing space, and there's really only one tool we have to use here. We need to merge all of these faces together into one face, which will be uploaded into ExactFlat. So I guess before I get started there, I want to show you how I got ExactFlat in there in the first place. So it is an add-in, and the way you can get it to, and let me go back, is go to this Exchange server. If you just Google Fusion 360 Exchange server, Exchange store, you'll actually see right here this Autodesk Exchange apps. Just go ahead and go to that guy, and there is an add-in that's called the ExactFlat Online Publisher. And let me I'll even give you the link here. If you guys look in your chat panel, I'm actually going to post this right here in the chat. You guys can see this as well. So you don't even have to Google it. You can just click on it. If you go ahead and install that, just click on it. It's going to ask you for it's free first off, so you can choose between Mac or Windows 64. You know, the same stuff we support for Fusion. Just go ahead and click on the free button. And then from there, it'll ask you for your Autodesk ID. So this is just the same ID you'd log into Fusion with. No big deal. Go ahead and sign in, and it'll start downloading. So much as the same way you guys installed Fusion, and that'll give you just an executable file that it will send, it's going to do the same thing here. You'll see this little MSI go in and start downloading. You just double-click that guy, and you'll install it. I've already installed it, so I'm not going to go through that part of the journey with you, but I trust you that you'll be all right. The next thing you got to do to get it to where it's in Fusion is you need to sign up, and that's what this ExactFlat Online addresses. So actually you can either click on it right here, or we can throw it right into the chat space right here as well. There, send to all. There you go. You guys need that. And yes, sign up. And so this is you go out and we'll get you an account and you can start operating. So as you guys are doing that, I'll go ahead and pop back into Fusion and show you the preparing process to get it in. So you'll see when you have it installed, you'll see a little button here, upload to ExactFlat, that'll appear. And before we use that, all you got to do is merge stuff. So I'm in the patching environment, and I'm going to use this thing that's called the merge. And what the merge does, you'll see, is that each of these little faces are their own independent faces. We need to make them as so they're one continuous face, and that's what this merge does. So I'm just going to take this guy, click all these guys, and say OK. And look, now it's one face. And we're ready to upload. It's really that simple. Just go here, upload to ExactFlat. I'm going to go log in, and it'll set it up. Upload successful with an exclamation point because it's so happy. And so that was probably uncalled for. But go ahead, Cliff.
Here's a couple of things. If you want to go back to that image that you just had, Mike.
Sure.
So this is you're going to go through the whole process. Mike's going to walk you through the rest of the process, but getting your surfaces right the first time is the most important part, and it's the only part where you're going to have to use your engineering and design intent. The rest is pretty push button. But also I just want to remind everybody that as you have questions as we go through it, please feel free to add your questions in the chat dialogue. What Mike did is he defined a pattern piece, and he also defined where the seams are going to go. All of that just by selecting these surfaces and knitting them together. So in this particular
piece, Cliff, time out. Cliff, we have two guys who say they cannot hear our audio right now. Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you can you hear us? Okay, send to all. So I just got a message here saying that it's back for at least one person. So guys, if you so there, Andrew says that he can't hear it either. Okay, Javier says he can. Let's just take a second here, guys. Okay, Corian says okay. Steve Cox. Okay, so there's a couple of you. Looks like the majority of you can hear us. So go ahead, Cliff. I'll go ahead and troubleshoot it with the two guys that seem like they're having some trouble.
Sure, no problem. So
Okay.
The thing we were trying to make sure that you understood is that your engineering intent is conserved as you do the design process here. You're deciding where the seams are going to be in your model when you build these pieces. And the seams are defined as the edges. Now that's not the actual material, the seam allowance. You're going to see all of that in the finish step. But what's really important, and what Mike did here, by selecting these surfaces, he's made them into one pattern piece. And this is, as we've watched people make use of ExactFlat online, the product's been available for about 20 days now. And the number one issue people have when trying to make use of the tool is they will start with a complete solid and try to have the tool unflatten the solid. Well, it will only unflatten surfaces, and ideally it'll only unflatten the pattern pieces you define. So while this is an entire bicycle seat, it's really going to be made up of 4 or 5 pieces that are sewn together. So it's important that you take the time to decide which pieces are which, how your machine is going to be put together, and assign those pieces as patches. It's also important to remember that the edges of each of your pattern pieces are where the seams are going to go. So with that, Mike, I don't know if you're back online yet.
Yeah, well, it seems like only one is unable to hear me. Matt, can you hear me? Well, Matt's replying. Okay, so Matt can hear me now. Great.
Okay.
So there's a question that just came in from Jeremy. Is there a separate link for the OS X version of ExactFlat? I'm not seeing it in the Exchange.
No, ExactFlat is a browser-only app.
Okay.
So it runs on Windows, Firefox, Safari. I've run it on my iPad. So there's only one version. There are 2 versions of the plugin based on your version of Fusion. So there's the Windows and the OXF, but ExactFlat is a browser-only, so it doesn't matter which tool you're running on. It's just a function of your browser.
Okay. Patrick has a reply to that. Patrick Ransbury. It's a bug in the store right now. When you click on the icon, you can select the OS X version in the store. Patrick, I'll promote you to a presenter if you want to. I don't know if you're around. If you might want to clarify that one. Hold on. We can come back to that one. Let me find him. Let's see here. Oh, I just had Patrick. Let's see, a couple. I gotta find him. Let's see, what other questions we had? We had a couple. Ruben had a question. Is there an automatic seam allowance included in the finished flat pattern design? And Ruben, there is not, and we're going to show you just kind of how we approach that in a second, so we'll get to that question. That's a good one. And then click on the icon. Okay, so Patrick, let me just see. Yeah, so for the OS side of things, you just kind of select in English, and it's there. We'll go ahead and move on.
Yep.
So to log in, once you guys are in the system, you'll get an email with some login information, and you saw me enter it in the Fusion side of things. The next thing is you got to log in on this side of things, and so I'm already logged in, and so I'm just going to hit the refresh. And so this is this ExactFlat.com online. That model will be uploaded, and so mine's just this test object. I should have given it a better name, but that's just what it is. And it'll upload. And so that's what we've got right here. As you can see, it just brings in the OBJ file. And then the way we're going to move through this is actually, it's really super simple. It's just kind of a left to right process and how you move through this. And the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to optimize the mesh. And so this is a way of increasing the definition of basically how many little points are approximating that shape. And by adding more, it'll provide detail where it's needed to make sure that flat pattern that's provided is more accurate and true to the space. So you can see around the curves there's more density than the places that are straight away. That's a really powerful tool. It's mesh optimization. It's used heavily in structural analysis, and it's so exciting to see it used in this flat pattern technology. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to define a material based on how I want it to behave, and then just how it looks, so I can just get a quick sanity check of it. So I'm going to apply leather to it as well. And then this is the fun part. We're going to go and I'm going to choose to flatten it. So I'm going to choose this guy and flatten. And then you'll see over here in a second, it's going to take this curved shape and it's going to just take all those little nodes and just flatten them out. And that's what we've got right here. Look at that. It's totally flat. Now, what we have to look here is just because it's flat doesn't mean that it's going to be something that's going to wear properly or fit properly. And Cliff, I don't know if you want to take a second to talk about what's simulating in the back end, but I'm going to turn on the strain model here and show what's going on here.
A couple of things is while you can see this is a relatively simple model, you can see that all of this is pretty much happening in real time, even with other users on the service. Mike's also only got one part, but you can look at multiple parts all at the same time when you're doing your flattening. And now what we're going to be looking at is the strain. This is something that's typically done, or this is usually an area where parts don't fit because the flat pattern isn't actually accurate. In this case, what it's saying is this flat pattern, while it may look like it's going to work, it's not. It's got some areas of very high strain, which means you're going to have producibility problems, and potentially it's not going to wear very well. So from the years of experience that the ExactFlat team has, we've put together some tools to help make a pattern that we are sure will not only fit right the first time, but will also provide you with the wear and the look and feel that you're looking for from your parts. So you saw those areas of high strain. They were the areas in red. What Mike's going to do now is he's going to run the optimizer, which will allow ExactFlat Online to take the part, the mesh, move the elements around slightly so that you get a pattern that will have the optimal performance. It won't have all of those areas of high strain. It'll show what it's usually attempting to do is get the strain down to really about 1% or 0% strain across the machine. So that's what's going on right now. So again, since this is a pretty quick demo, we encourage you to follow along. There are sample parts in the directories that you have when you install, so please feel free to go ahead and give this a try with your models. And as you can see, Mike's finished, and those areas of high strain, they were there at the top and at the bottom on the back half of this part, are no longer areas of high strain. We've now got a pattern that we're sure will fit right the first time, and that'll give us the wear characteristics that we're looking for in our produced products. So this is where you can see, again, just thinking through those of you that have been working with soft goods before, how did you get started? You might have had to make a physical prototype. You might have had to drape material over it. You might have had to do what we call drape and tape, so you measure, you tape it, or you've had someone that's been around for a while and they look at it and they use their years and years of expertise to do that first cut of the pattern, and then you'd iterate on it. Now we've gone through all of those steps, and in these 10 minutes that we've been working together, you've got a pattern that is ready for production. So that's where we are very bold in the claim of 2 to 10 times faster, because you can see it right here in front of you. It's something that you can expect to see in your own performance. Back to you, Mike.
Man, that stuff is so cool. So for you guys that are following along, like all I was doing here is it's just you click the thing. I kind of just on the sly said it's under this flat, and it's the optimize one we just performed. And then the way I'm doing this analysis is I'm turning on this guy. That'll turn on your texturing, and then I'm looking at the strain. So that's, if you guys are following the clicks, that's what I did. The next thing we got to do now is we got to make it real, right? So we have a nice flat pattern here. That's where the download comes in. So again, we're moving to the next tab. And that's just, we're going to download it as a DXF. So you can take and just give this to your guy and just say, hey, load this up in AutoCAD and rock on it. This is the area actually where if you're going to, where ExactFlat where you guys as Fusion users get a really valuable preview here, and that this is generally where you're charged for when you download it. For the preview here with Fusion, this is actually free for you guys for now. So I'm actually going to just start my free download here of my DXF to check it out, and then I'll show you the end result here. So just kind of as I'm downloading it, I did this ahead of time. I'm able to take that, and in your data panel, if you take that DXF and just say upload, just go and navigate to it and pull it in. It'll upload as its own file. And that's what this guy is out right here. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually taking that DXF, and then all I'm doing is I'm just extruding out the face that comes from it. And so I can extrude this front face, and then I was asking, how do we get that overlap? I'm actually taking the entire surface here, this continuous surface, and I'm using press pull to then thicken this. And then the end result from this is you guys get a flat pattern that has the right documentation that you can then export and send to your send to whoever's going to be putting the thing together or doing the cut for you. I just create a view here. Output is a DWG or a PDF, whatever. Get your quick dimensions here. Talk about your seam allowance. I mean, man, this is so incredible. We've never been able to do this, and like now we just basically did this in a little 10-minute overview. I continue to be amazed by this.
So the DXF file is also provides all of the information you need for standard automated cutters. So once Mike was able to go in and add the seam allowance here, you actually can send this directly to cutters. He's created a drawing here, but he can have just left the seam allowance in and sent it to the cutter, and he would have gotten everything he needs.
Absolutely.
As we go forward in the summer, you'll see more and more tools to make a lot of these things even more transparent to you. But the tool is completely functional. We have customers that are using it right now, and it's ready for you to start using it, trying it out on your models.
All right, there's a question from Jean-Michel asking, are we generating UV map coordinates to export in OBJ-FBX for rendering? And no, the quick answer. But I guess if I was going to do a rendering on this stuff, I'd just line up the two views and then kind of overlap them in like Illustrator or something. But, any plans at this point, Cliff, for being able to use that heat map on the analysis and for visualization and rendering?
Not for visualization or rendering, but if you go back to ExactFlat online, you can see not only do you have output of the DXF file, but under that download, you also get a report. And the report is a PDF report which provides insight into what your part was, what the grain was, what material you used. So you get additional information that you can use to help you decide or help you archive which parts you did and what settings you had on the entire product. But no, we won't be doing any additional rendering capabilities. It's really more of a pre-production tool. All that rendering should be done in the CAD tool.
Okay.
And we do have the texture mapping, but that's just for visualization. When you have lots and lots of different parts or a variety of different parts, we've done the texture mapping just so that you can tell one part from the other.
Cliff Corin asked a question. When we did the optimization step, it looked like things improved. Is there a way to compare what actually changed in the before and after?
If you run the report before and then run the report after, yes, that would be your compare.
Okay, Corin, so there's the answer. Let's see. Question for Jean-Michel. Optimizing placement texture is mandatory. Do we have to assign a texture, Cliff?
Well, you have to assign a texture because that is what ensures the performance of the material. So it's assign a texture is what you're looking at, but what you really did was assign a material type.
Okay.
The texture is really just there, it's cosmetic only. So what you have to do is assign a material type.
Okay. Matt made a general.
Textures are all just there. They're just cosmetic. We just put them in there again so you can differentiate.
Okay. Matt made a general comment saying that he felt like the seam allowance part of the demonstration went a little fast. So Matt, let me back up and just show you. We did that somewhat on purpose just because we wanted to make sure we're making the most use of your time. but I'll just quick show you kind of what I ran through here. So as you can see, this isn't actually a flat document that I've made here. What I've done is through a series of extrusions. When it first comes in, the DXF, when you first upload it, it comes in as this sketch. So that's what actually comes in from ExactFlat. And so it's like, hey, that's a flat pattern. To work with just kind of the way that Fusion's documentation works right now, to make it so I could do a seam allowance, I started off by then taking that and doing an extrusion of it. So actually the extrusion was, actually I can just show you again, kind of, it's really easy. I just took this guy and extruded it up so that I had something to work with. And then I went and I took all the surfaces to make it so I had a seam. And so I'm just taking this guy and just saying, take my body faces, really easy. Let's actually do this guy. Actually, I'll take it out of perspective mode too, so I can do this selection, orthographic, this guy, with this way on it. So I select everything, and then I'm just doing a press pull on it. And so I'm just kind of taking and pulling this thing out. So I can go 10 millimeters on it, so you can actually see where we're going with this. Or in that case, I was doing a 1/2 inch for those of you in the States. And so that's you can just kind of compare that to the before and after. So we have, let's see, this before and after for both. Actually, here we are. Yeah, so there's the kind of before and after you have in there. And that's just by having this top level view, right? It's just an orthographic. We're not doing a side profile, and it's silly. This is just a really quick kind of way I found to make it work out, and just it did exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't overthink it. I've been using this about as long as you guys have, and I just thought it was a really slick way to get what I wanted. So there's, as Cliff mentioned, this is we're gonna continue to work with ExactFlat and improving the workflows and the stuff. But of that one, I mean, come on, the information's right there. That's pretty slick. Let's see here. All right, thanks, Matt. And okay, so Dan has a question. All right, general statement. We work in the quick serve restaurant industry and use some specialty fabrics. Can these be defined in ExactFlat?
Right now, ExactFlat Online has a specific list of fabrics, but if you provide the material properties, specifically the Poisson's ratio and the modulus of elasticity, then we can validate whether or not those fabrics are going to match up with ones that are already in the tool. And given where we're going, that library will expand, but you can't change it today. But if you provide us with the materials, we'll let you know which ones are the closest to the ones that you have on your list. Our desktop tools do allow you, though, to have complete control over that.
Okay. Javier has a question. Is it possible to add markers as guidelines to speed up the fabrication process?
Yes. Would you do that in the Fusion? You do that here in the Fusion drawing environment.
Yeah. I just use this as annotations. Yeah. All right, Ruben has a question for us. How do you account for the different thicknesses that materials may come in?
Given the material, some of those, that's accounted for by the material properties, because you don't often account for materials in these fabrics. The only material, again, where we have to consider that is something like vinyl. But most of these materials, you don't have to account for the thickness.
I think let's see if I missed anybody's. I think we've got everyone's question. If I missed it, guys, I'm just going to repaste it. So we'll look and see if there's any other questions that come to mind as we're finishing up. I'll go ahead and just go back to our deck, and we'll start kind of summing up what we've shown today. So let's go on to this guy. Actually, Cliff, do you want to take the summary slide?
Sure.
Yeah.
You ready?
Sure, I'm ready. You're up.
Well, why don't we go back to slide number, the demonstration slide, and we'll walk through kind of the...
Sure.
Kind of a reminder of what we've seen so far.
Sure, got it.
Yep.
There we go.
Number 6, sir.
All right, we're in.
Sweet. So, yeah, again, as Mike said at the top of the hour, this process is relatively simple. First, you'll go through and use Fusion to design up your part, create it any way you want. Then, next slide, next slide.
Prepare the surfaces. And then
Then you prepare your surfaces. This is the reason we want to talk about this, because this is the most important part of the process. Preparing the surfaces and remembering that the seam locations are defined by the edges of the surfaces that you've selected. Once you've done that, you'll use the export tools to export it directly into ExactFlat Online, which is the next slide. And here it will download right into your account. So in order to take advantage of this, remember you need both the publisher tool from the Exchange store, and you need to have registered for the service at ExactFlat.com/online. Once you're into ExactFlat Online, you will refine the mesh so that it captures all of the geographic or all of the geometry. You'll assign the materials, again, not the textures. The textures are really just cosmetic, but the materials which determine the performance. You'll do the flattening. You'll optimize, and here's an example of the before and after. This can show up in the reports. All I did here was a cut and paste. And then when you're done, you'll go back into Fusion to finish the pattern, to add the seams, add the markers. So kind of that's a summary of the process. What we'd recommend, or what we'd ask you to do, is go ahead and get started. You can go to the Exchange store, and remember, if you just typed in Fusion 360 Exchange in Google, it'll give you that link, but here's the link that Mike has for you. Once you've done that, you want to sign up for the service, ExactFlat.com/online. Just click on the sign in register button and sign up. What you must have is that it's a unique company email address and a username. Please try to avoid commas in the company name. It just creates problems with the service. Then you'll go through the steps. You'll prepare your models. You'll use the merge surface capabilities. That's the most important one. And the reason we keep hammering on that is because that's where customers have tended to have problems. Send to ExactFlat, flatten, validate, optimize, and then finish the patterns in Fusion 360. The service is free for you to upload and flatten. You only pay when you download the DXF file. Everything else works exactly within Fusion 360. We encourage you to go ahead and get started right now. Give it a try. There is an online forum inside of ExactFlat Online, as well as a help system and a support ticket. So if you have problems, you can either go to the forum or you can send us a help ticket, and we will get right back with you and try to resolve your issues as quickly as possible. And with that, Mike, I turn it back over to you. I think we're getting to the end here.
I think we got it. Any final questions, guys? I've been answering them as they come in. Just broadly on our end, yeah, if you guys got questions, hit us up. And yeah, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. This webinar has been recorded, so we'll be pushing this out too. And we hope you guys all got a lot out of it, and we hope you go try it. Have a great great morning and afternoon wherever you are. And Jeremy, if you want to just stick around after as we enter, you got a question about getting it set up, I'll just stick around and help you. But for the rest of you guys, go make some incredible things. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Again, ExactFlat.com/online, and the forum's there also for you to ask questions. Good luck, and please let us know if we can help you.
Cool. All righty, take care, guys. Bye. Okay, so Matt, I'm gonna see what's there. A couple questions coming in. We got. Let's see here. Let me. Hey guys, so I see a couple of you guys still on here with a couple of questions that came in last minute. I'm gonna get to them as I can. And
I'll stay on also to answer questions. So
yeah, you can see the chat there too, right?
No, I can't see the questions. Though. It's really chat.
This is silly. Hold on. Let's see. I just promoted you, man, so you should be able to see it. Can you see him now? Yeah, can you see him now?
Questions.
Yeah, so while you're looking for that, Cliff, I'm going to say, so for the gentleman I'm working with who's looking for what should he be seeing to upload, when you launch a file, there's a little button that's up here, this upload to ExactFlat. If you aren't seeing that, again, the other place would be is when you start a new design. Actually, there's a button right here as well. If you aren't seeing those, my suggestion would be close and reopen Fusion, because you might have installed the add-in, but just the add-in isn't loaded yet. So that's the first thing we should check. So quick try that. So which menus that show up, or it just should be right here and there. Okay, so that's for Matt. And then, oh, and for Jeremy too, so there's a couple of you guys trying. Okay, and then Chris has designed some shoes, is awesome. And then Dave, you had a question of should we or must you use Fusion 360 with ExactFlat? And the answer is no. Actually, you can, as long as you can get an OBJ out of a program or an STL. I've found through experience that it looks like OBJ tends to be the more stable of the two. You can use it. So there's a question as well. So Dave, you made the comment you're using Inventor 2014. You absolutely can. You just log in direct to ExactFlat and then upload it. There's an upload button right here when you log in. It's under, sorry, where's my ExactFlat? This button right here, upload. That's what I've been using. But obviously, why would you use any program other than Fusion? I mean, come on.
Yeah, why would you use anything? Yeah.
Okay, and Dan had success just closing and reopening Fusion, so that's good to hear. Okay, I think.
Yeah, I think we got all the
questions. You guys all good? Let's call it. All right, Cliff. Thank you, sir. I'll record this thing and I'll hopefully have it posted. I don't know, end of the day-ish, if I can.
Excellent. And go try the service. Let us know what you think. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Take care, guys. Jeremy, email me and we'll do it offline. Cool. Ending the webinar.